Hey, Raising Athletes podcast fans, Kirsten here, and I have to share my new favorite hydration secret with you. Corvive's Hydrate in pink lemonade. If you're looking for the ultimate hydration boost, this is it. Corvive's Hydrate is an NSF certified for sport, trusted by 4 Major League Baseball teams and 3 military bases. With 6 grams of pure organic cane sugar, it ensures you absorb all the electrolytes you need. And get this, it has 3 times the electrolytes and 4 times less sugar than those leading brands. Plus, it's developed using the World Health Organization's standards for oral rehydration solutions, making it the equivalent of a bag of IV fluids. Best of all, there are no artificial dyes or sweeteners. It's so perfect for the entire family. You can drink it any time of day, before, during, or after workouts or sports. So say goodbye to sugary juices and hello to superior hydration with Corvive's Hydrate in pink lemonade. Visit corvive.com. That's CORVIVE.com. And use promo code Kirsten. That's KIRSTEN for 30% off your order. Try it today and feel the difference.
Hello, and welcome to the Raising Athletes podcast. My name is Kirsten Jones. I'm a peak performance and sports parenting coach and the author of Raising Empowered Athletes, which came out last August. I'm still on the road. I'm talking to parents, athletes, coaches, and anyone else who will listen to me as we talk about navigating this $37 billion business that is youth sports. It's grown at exponential rates in the last 5 years, just as I was writing the book. And it continues to escalate. And now we're seeing it on the other side where it's really affecting our kids. It's affecting us as parents, and it's affecting the coaches. It's really impacting everyone. And so I'm so excited to have Leah on today. She's in my lane. We are doing the same type of work, working with athletes, working with parents. She's been an athlete. I want to hear about her journey. But I love spitballing with people who are doing what I'm doing, because I think we're all holding hands together. And I think the more we talk about this, the more we shine a light on the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I think there is a bunch of each, then, we name it to tame it. We can identify how we can help. So Leah, thank you so much for being on today.
Kirsten, I'm so excited to be here. I echo every sentiment you just shared. I love the work you're doing. I'm a huge fan of yours. Your book is incredible. Everybody, if you have not read it, go get it. I listen to it because that's how I consume most of my reading, just because I'm in the car, I'm on the go, and it reads beautifully. It's the book I if I could write a book, your book is the book I would write. It's fantastic, and you're really sharing such important messages that our kids and parents need to hear today, and coaches as well. And I love the work you're doing. It's an honor to be here with you today, and I'm really excited about this.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry, but we're done. We're out of time. So thank you. This was great. I didn't even pay her to say all that. Okay.
I'm just a fan.
Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. And I loved hearing, it's fun when people have listened to it too, right? Because people said, are you going to read the book yourself? And I said, absolutely. Because I think it's good to hear from the author's point of view. And that was my hope, is that I'm not a sage from the stage. I'm a guide from the side. I'm swimming in the trenches with you. I'm making the mistakes. You're a mother of 4. We want to get into that. You're doing the parenting, the hard work in parenting, and also coaching. But maybe we can start with your journey. Like tell us about your athletic journey and kind of how you got to what you're doing today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good story, because I feel like I'm on both ends of it. I was the kid, and now I'm the parent, and I've also been the coach. So I wear all the hats, as do you. I started out, I was a good athlete in high school. I wasn't a standout. I wasn't a D1 recruit or anything like that, but I was kind of good at everything, but I didn't know what I wanted, and I was burnt out on sports. This is the best story. I was burnt out. I was a tennis player. I was an all-state tennis player. That was my best sport. And I was burnt out on tennis, Kirsten. I didn't want to have anything to do with anything. I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. Leave me alone. And then I get to college, and I went to college in Virginia, not far from you. I went to Mary Washington. And
yes.
So I went there, and what happened to me? I had sports envy, and I'm watching all the teams playing, and I'm like, I can't believe I didn't play. I love volleyball. My second sport was volleyball. I said, I can't believe I didn't play volleyball. I can't believe I didn't play tennis. Like, what did I do? I'd been playing sports, every season since I'm in 6th grade. So what do? I walk on the D3 lacrosse team and play lacrosse for the first
For
time.
the first time?
Never played. Yeah. My roommate was a player. She's throwing and catching with me. She goes, wow, Leah, you're pretty good. You should play. I said, okay. And I walk on the team. I mean, this is a million years ago. And I missed it so much. So I missed sports a lot. And then after that, then 20s come along and competitive sports is over. I missed it. Between 30 and 40, I just had children. That's what I did. I literally was just a mom, and that was great. And then I turned 40 and I said, I need to do something. Like I miss being active and competing. And I started doing CrossFit, but then after that kind of got the competitive juices flowing. I started running. I never was a runner in high school. I said, they said, oh, you're pretty good. I said, oh, okay. I don't know. I've never ran. Next thing you know, I'm running a half marathon and I did really well. And all my friends were like, what? Where did you come from? I said, was that good? And they're like, I said, oh, okay. Then I said, let me run a marathon. So I run a marathon. I know nothing about any of this running stuff.
Which marathon did you run first?
It was a local Suffolk County here on Long Island marathon. And I qualified to run in Boston. They're like,
oh my gosh, you qualified for Boston?
My first marathon. They're like, what is happening? Who are you? Where did you come from? I go, I guess I'm pretty good. I still didn't know I was good at this. So I run New York City. I run Boston. I run 4 Bostons in a row. Then they're like, you have to do triathlon. Leah, you have to. Wait,
I got to hear. What's your time in the marathon?
My best time is 3:17.
I was going to say 4:17. Wow, I should have stuck with it.
Yeah, 3:17. I'm like, 3:17.
That's amazing.
At 46. That was my last was my fastest. So I kept getting faster. So I'll get to that in a second. So then I started doing triathlon, but Kirsten never swam a lap in a pool in my life. Never. Like I was blowing bubbles, like learning how to stick my face in the water. And the joke is, I say this, I live on an island where there's a lot of water, but yet I don't go in it. Like I don't swim. Now it's like if the cannon goes off, I'm in the water. So there has to be a race for me to get in the water. So I learned how to swim kind of. Like I knew how to swim, but not really.
What age is this?
43, 44. Awesome. Yeah. So it's never too late. And I do a half marathon. I finally do a half Ironman. I do a full Ironman. I come in 6th place in my age group.
Which for those who don't know, how much is a full Ironman?
It's a 2.4 mile open water swim, 112 mile bike ride, and a full marathon, 26.2 miles.
Casual.
In one day. Right? Everyone's like, so over a week or no, in the same day. They're
so
like,
you drive the 100 miles?
Yeah. They're like, I don't even want to drive that. I'm not riding my bike for that long. They're like, how long does that take you? All the questions come out. And I just, again, that competitiveness, that sort of, mindset of I can do this. And then I qualified to race in Hawaii. So I wound up my second Ironman. I came in 2nd place and I went to Hawaii and went to the Ironman World Championships, which was like, it's the triathlete's dream is to go to Kona. So
okay, there's so many questions there. Like, so P.S. you're raising toddlers at this point too, right? So what are you running in the middle of the night, or like when are you?
Pretty much running at 4 a.m. I'm sneaking it in. People don't see what you do. At 8:30 at night, I'm going to the pool. Like when everyone's in bed, I'm going to the pool and working on my swimming, which I hated. And I would I impress myself. I'm like, how did I do that? You just become so driven and you just get, the goal is there and you want to learn. And think about it. We spend our childhood learning new things and then we become adults and we don't learn new things anymore. We don't go to school and get a degree and we don't do any of that. So this was like being a kid all over again. I was like, wow, I get to do a sport like after school. So it was an exciting time. And I learned a lot, which turned into why I started getting into mental performance, because I realized how much the mindset and the mental game was part of my success as an athlete. Because I wasn't a natural, I never ran track. I didn't do anything, but I was never going to give up. If you saw me out there, I will never give up. I am racing until the end. I will beat you just because I won't stop. So I was like, there's something here that I want to teach. So again, I'm a high school guidance counselor and a volleyball coach. And I started using these techniques with my team. I would sit the girls down. We had our journals. I'm asking them, let's set goals. Let's visualize all the stuff I do for myself. And I went, wait a minute, there's something here. And aside from that, I had been just a lover of mental performance since I'm in college when I took a sports psych class. So this has been a hobby of mine on the side. I've had these books for 20 years. So this is just something I've always been a student of. So I said, let's combine all these things. My work as an athlete. And then when I talk to kids, I'm like, I'm training too. I'm in it with you. Do you think I want to go for a 20-mile run today? I do not. I don't. And 99% of the time, I don't want to go in the pool. I don't want to get on my bike for 6 hours, but we have to be in love with the process. And then the race, the end is the icing on the cake. So I think it holds true for me, and that helps me connect with the kids and the athletes I work with because I'm doing it too. I get it. I'm in it. So it's been quite a journey. That sort of summed up a little bit. I hope so.
Yes. So beautiful. And I have so many questions and different ways we could go with this. But I mean, even going back to you talking about your childhood, what I loved about what you talked about was playing all the sports, right? Like, and then when you go to college, having never picked up a lacrosse stick, we talk about this a lot on this podcast about being a multi-sport athlete,
Yes.
like why that is so important. And because you have hand-eye coordination, that's why you can pick up a lacrosse stick and just jump right in. And it's not because you've been sitting here, putting a ball up against a wall for years and years and years, but all of those skills are transferable.
Yes.
That allowed you to just, just pick up the stick and go.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. And no one has ever really said that. And, when we were younger, I don't know about you, but for at least when I grew up, we went from one season to the next. I played tennis, then I played volleyball, then we played basketball, and then I played softball. And we just did that year round. All of my friends, we all played together. I didn't have any knee injuries. I didn't have nothing because I didn't run from softball practice to tennis practice at night. I played the one sport and the eye-hand court. I played softball for years. I played basketball, all these different things. And then I think that even translated to running and biking and swimming as an adult because I had that experience as an athlete, and people are like, oh, you were probably just gifted. No, I wasn't gifted. I mean, I'm definitely athletic. I'm not going to say I wasn't or I'm not. I definitely am. But it afforded so many other options for me, just having that experience. And it kind of leads to what we're doing wrong nowadays. But that's
well, and it kept, I think it keeps you from obviously with the injuries, but B, the boredom and the burnout and the overuse. And so what we're seeing now is when 70% of kids are dropping out of sport altogether by age 13, and girls are dropping out at twice the rate of boys. Yeah. Why? Because of things like this. Like I coached a kid yesterday and I'm like, where are you? He's like, well, I'm in the car. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I just had my one practice and now I have a half an hour off and then I've got to go to my second practice. And he's 13, right? Like we never lived like that where it was, and I always have them take me through their schedule and it starts at 6 a.m. and it goes until 11 p.m. like a pro athlete. And yet they're middle school or high school.
High school. Yeah, I know. And they tell me they're tired. I go, they're really tired. And I'm like, are you? And I try and explain the difference between being physically tired and mentally tired. Like physically, yes, you are tired, but you're also mentally tired. And that can really wear you down. You're not, your schoolwork is going to suffer. Your mind is racing all the time. I got to go here, then I got to go there. I got to remember my cleats, my shin guards. Oh my gosh, I forgot my mouth guard. And then I've got to have a snack. We're putting so much on our own children, and I'm in it and I'm part of it too. And I have a 12-year-old who has a million things and I'm evaluating every day. What are we doing? And I say to her every time, if she doesn't want to go, I'm like, do you not want to go to we don't have to do this. You say the word and we're done. Like, I need to keep checking in with her because I feel like she's starting to give me signals. She's in 6th grade. Like there's lacrosse practice and there's soccer practice and there's volleyball. And she's only on one lacrosse team. Her friends are on two teams, 12.
So that is the $1 million question. I'm sure you get it a lot as well. So what I get asked from parents, like, so how do we know when it's enough? When do you pivot?
I think that is the $1 million question. And I'm not sure I know the answer, because the worst thing that can happen is your kid gets older and says, why didn't you let me stay with lacrosse? I would have, and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's the kiss, I hope that doesn't happen with my kids, but I also feel at the same time, if you're really that good of an athlete, it'll work out for you. Like, you don't need to be on two lacrosse. If you're good, you'll be good. And it's also okay just to be an okay player. Not everybody on the team has to be a star. So sometimes being part of the team is just being part of the team and having fun on the team. So it's about what's your role? What do you want out of the sport? Well, you know what? Soccer is my main sport. The rest I'm going to do for fun. Great. I love it. That's a great way to look at it. Soccer's your main sport. Maybe you want to play soccer in college, and the others you're doing as participation. You're going to go on the basketball team and have fun with your friends but it's a lot, Kirsten. Like, even these teams, to be just a participant, the hours they spend, it's year round. My kids, not my children, my students, basketball, they're doing basketball now. It's like for next winter.
Yeah.
Open gyms for volleyball for next year and now. Track wants you to work out now. I'm like, what is happening? And some of it's a money grab, and that makes me crazy too. But what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? It's this hamster wheel of events, and I'm not sure what the answer is. So to answer your question, I don't know. You really have to, but that's why the work we're doing. Let's circle back to the work with parents. If you can establish a relationship with your kid where they can talk to you and they're not thinking, mom's never going to let me quit because I have to do volleyball, then you're not going to get the answer from your kid. Your kid's going to do it for you, not for themselves. And that's when it gets into trouble. So the most important thing we can do, I share with parents and coaches and kids, get that relationship solid so that they are not afraid to come to you and say, Mom, it's too much for me. I can't do it anymore. It's not about, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just to say, I have a quick story in the book, but a true story in the Target checkout line, and the woman checking me out I was buying an umbrella because we're living in Buffalo and it's raining sideways. And she's like, where are you going? And I said, my son's soccer game. And she said, oh, I did that with my son. He played soccer all the way through high school. She said, I'll never forget when it ended. And I said to him, son, are you going to just miss soccer so much? And he said, oh, Mom, I stopped liking soccer about 5 years ago, but I didn't want to upset you.
See?
And she said, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Right? There is nothing that we won't do for our parents, right? So when we need to give them the permission, and I think sometimes the best thing you can do is say, gosh, it's looking like you're not really enjoying this anymore. Do you want to take a break? Because to your point, if they're meant to play on whatever the next level is, when we know less than 5% will play D1, D2, D3, NAIA, this isn't about that.
Right.
What will 6 months off hurt? And if they say, gosh, I really miss it, I want to go, great. Yeah, but then we won't be on the top team. Yeah, but we won't.
So what?
But your child will have some sanity in their life. They will make the decision.
Correct.
They will miss it. And you're modeling this opportunity that they have agency over their future. I get to decide whether I'm going to participate or not.
Correct. It's such that is a scary thing for parents to do. They don't want to let go and miss anything. If we miss 6 months, she's going to be behind, and she's not going to be on the A team, and she's going to travel with the blah, 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 and she's going to miss it. And then she's not going to be on the JV team or get pulled up to varsity and that anxiety that the parents are having goes right onto the child. It goes right through. I think your book said it, best. And I read another book that I thought was excellent, Never Enough. It's about the achievement culture. Have you read that?
Yes.
That book could have been written they could have been interviewing the people in my town, because that's exactly what's going on. But we're setting them up. We're setting our kids up for this. They're not meant, we shouldn't be projecting onto our children our anxieties and our fears and if they're meant to be a standout, they'll be a standout, and they'll do it for them, not for us. But that all comes down to, again, establishing that communication between you and your child that starts the earlier, the better. Like, is it too late when they're 17? No, it's not, but it becomes increasingly difficult for them. They don't get in the car anymore. Now they're driving themselves. But when they get into the car and you have an opportunity to make or break that conversation. That's your chance. And you're either it's going to go one way or the other. I had a situation with my son that I just wrote about on my newsletter. And he got in the car after finding out that the other kids were going to nationals. He's a track runner. And literally, it was like a gut punch to him. He overheard. He was supposed to go. It's a long story, but I wanted to do everything to fix it. Like, I literally, running through my head as he's talking, I'm like, well, I can text the coach and see if they can give him another chance. No. Well, I can No. Well, I can. No. Listen to him. I let him talk. I validated his feelings. It was like the hardest thing for me to do, to not jump in there and fix him. Let him, not tell him what to do. Let him process it. And he was devastated, Kirsten, devastated. I'd never seen him so upset. He's going to be 16 in a couple of months. And you know what? The next day, and he said the things that you never want to hear your kids say. Why do I bother, Mom? Like, why? I work so hard. And I'm like, oh, keep working, bud. Like, just I promise you, if you show up, you work hard and you put in the effort, good things will happen. I can tell you that. Okay, Mom. And the next day I checked in. I said, how are you? He's like, I'm okay. I'm going to go back to practice and I'm going to work really hard. I said, okay. But it was devastating. I wanted to do, I had to stop myself because I know the coach. I said, don't do it. But as parents, we have to let them navigate for themselves. But it's like riding a bike. You're holding the seat. And then you let go. I'm still next to you. I'm riding my bike. I'm right here, but you're pedaling. You've got this, but I'm here if you need me. And that's the critical thing, Kirsten, that we have to teach these parents how to do. And it might be 6th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade. That's, I feel, the time when they become teenagers, when they start to change and they're less communicative. We still have to show up consistently for them and send the same message, and they're listening. So it's a difficult challenge. Teenagers are not easy, but we can't give up. We have to fight for them.
So Jennifer Wallace's book, Never Enough, is outstanding. And I quote her all the time now, because there really is this epidemic of mattering, is what she said. And essentially our kids' identity has become so intertwined with the thing that they do, whether it's the violin or, or basketball or getting a 4.5, and we don't have enough downtime because we're so busy running from one thing to the other that we don't have chores, we don't have part-time jobs, we don't take summer holidays, we don't even, go to Thanksgiving together because we've got to go, we can't miss this one tournament. And what happens is the kids are losing sense of self, losing sense agency over who they are, and not knowing that they're enough just as they are. Right. Yes. So highly recommend her book. And then the other part that you said, I'm working with a club volleyball team here in Los Angeles, and working with several of the teams. But last night at 9:00 at night, I'm talking to one of the coaches, and he said, he started the call by saying, so Dawn Staley just did a press interview about recruiting, or her tearing down the season, and she talked about recruiting, and she just said, I don't recruit crazy parents. Like I can't deal with that. I don't, and because I see how they're interacting with their daughters, and then I decide whether I can tolerate that or not. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that was how he sends me a text of that interview, and then he says, it's the strangest thing, but like the kids that don't mind that they don't get playing time, or at least they are not complaining about not getting playing time, the parents are the ones that are very calm, and the ones that are, whether their kid's not starting. He said, I had a mom complain that why is she doing all the extra by organizing lunches if her kid doesn't get to pick which starting spot she wants, right? Like this entitlement around, I'm doing X for you and you owe me this, right? And what we're modeling for our kids is that we don't like this. We complain, we call the coach, he said one of the girls is throwing a fit on the sidelines. Like it's leading to this cases where the kids don't have the tools, which is okay. Like your son, I mean, bravo for you. I've been exactly where you're sitting, and it is the hardest thing to have your kid sit there in tears in the front seat and say, I'm not enough. Yes, you are. You're just enough as you are. What are you going to do to fix this?
Right.
And how can I support you?
Correct. That's it. That's exactly right. What do you want to do and how can I help? And that's exactly what he said. I'm not enough. Maybe I'm just okay. I guess I'm just mediocre. And I said, well, that's not the right attitude. And listen, there's always going to be someone faster, right? There's always going to be someone faster, smarter, better looking, taller, all the things. But we can control what we can control. And that's your attitude, your effort, how you show up, what you do with your time, and to be proud of what you put out there. I don't care what your number is. I don't care what your time is. I care about the effort you put in. And he gets it. And he definitely had a moment, and it was tough. And I felt it for him. Like I really knew. I've been in that position where you just hear something. It was like he didn't know what was happening, and all of a sudden he heard, and he's like, how did I not know this? When you find out something that everybody like, oh, and it's really hard to recover from that. And he's still working hard, and he's doing his thing. And it's tough too. These kids, they have choice. They have to make a choice between, am I going to play soccer or am I going to run year round? If I run year round, then maybe I can be an even better runner, but then I give up my multi-sport athlete and those friends on soccer. He's having this decision right now, and it's very difficult to make. He's like, I don't know what to do, Mom. I said, listen, we have time. Keep playing both. You can do both. Or you can do, I'm not sure. It's a lot of kids have come to me with a lot of that because swimming is year round. And I had a student I was working with that gave everything up for swimming. And now she's like, I miss field hockey. I miss lacrosse. I miss being outside. I'm in the pool 24 hours a day, 12 months out of the year. Do I want to put all those eggs in that basket and be the best swimmer I can be? Or do I want to be multifaceted? And I said, I don't know. I don't envy the kids today. And what makes matters worse with the achievement culture and the status of everything is this, because it's all posted, the stats and the numbers and the recruits and who's going where. And oh my gosh, everyone's committed except for me. Here we're very fortunate that we have a very strong athletic program. We have 6 or 7 D1 commits on our girls lacrosse team, Princeton, Brown, Naval Academy, Villanova. Yeah, they're amazing. But then everybody else feels very intimidated. Like, well, I'm not going to that school and I didn't get, what's wrong? I don't want to do D3. That's such a, that's nothing. And it's like, no, that might be what works best for you. So have to, but everything is about box scores and numbers and assistants and points. And I actually developed a program at my school where I have the coaches nominate other athletes that are doing things that no one is noticing. Sportsmanship.
Good.
I call it the Patriot of the Week. I work at a school that Patriots are our mascot. And I want to hear from coaches on a kid that made a really good defensive play this week, or someone who busted their butt and is starting for the first time, or who's getting into the track meet and that's what they're giving me. And it's amazing. I want to highlight the other kids. And because everyone it's me over we. It's a lot of that. And when the coaches come to me and I say, what do you want me to, because I meet with all the teams, what do you want me to do? They're like, everybody's so selfish. And I go, well, that's what we're promoting. So that's what we're rewarding. We're rewarding.
Shocker.
Shocker. Yeah. I'm not surprised you have that problem, because that's what we're promoting, and we're celebrating all the time the stats. And so we've got it backwards. And I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are on how do we fix this, Kirsten? Like, what can we do? We're in the trenches, you and I. I'm obsessed with I'm trying to educate parents as much as possible. But, people think it's working because they are getting the D1 commits, and they're, well, look, but is she happy? Like, what she really wants? Like, do you even know?
I love your answer, because I just was speaking out in Pasadena, east of Los Angeles last week. And the woman that's on the board for that city came up to me and said this exact thing: how do we fix this? And I love your answer in that. And there was a couple moms standing there with her. And I said, well, I think first of all, you need to have some no cut sports, right? Like, so what are we doing that everybody can participate in? Because not everybody, like, even to your point in college, you just wanted to be with the girls, right?
Yes,
like,
exactly.
It's not about you trying to become the star. So not everybody's end all be all is trying to be the star. And we need places for them. And she said, well, we do that. And then the mom standing next to her said, no, we don't. And she said, what do you mean? She said, well, we have a badminton team. We play badminton in the backyard. So I figured, okay, great. There's low hanging fruit. We can make the badminton team. And my kid didn't make the badminton team. And we also talked about not doing this achievement culture thing, yet the head of the newsletter this week for the school was, she got 1,600 on the SAT. Let's all applaud that. Mm-hmm. So, and it's, it's not everybody gets a trophy, but let's highlight all of the skills that we need in life to be successful, so that we're not only focusing on the podium.
Yes, it's so important. And that's you're exactly right. And they only think the only way to success is to be the best. I have to be number one. I have to be the best. That's the only way I'll be happy. That's the only way I'm going to succeed. And it's drilled into their brains. And I tell them, it's not where you go to college, it's what you do when you're there. It's not it's what you do when you're there. And they don't understand. They're looking at me like, really? Is that true? I'm like, I promise you it's true. It's not all what you think. You've been conditioned to thinking there's only one way. And there are a million different ways that you can get to where you want to be, whatever that may be for you. And that's going to change 100 times. But we're always, again, we're applauding or celebrating these achievements, these best 1,600, D1 recruit. We have this thing here, top 100 players. It's like a local thing. It's the worst thing we can do. Oh, yeah. Did Susie make the top 100? Oh, no, she didn't. Oh, but so-and-so. Here we go again. And so what is that kid who didn't make the top 100? I didn't make it. I'm not good enough. I had my friend who is she has 6th grade twins, and the twins didn't make the all-star 6th grade lacrosse team, which was, to be honest, it was just a money grab. You had to pay. But anyway, they don't know that. They're 11. Said, Mom, we need to we need to do privates. She's like, stop right now. It has nothing to do with your skill level. But that's the message, Kirsten, at 11, that they're already on 2 lacrosse teams, a travel soccer team, a travel volleyball team, and they think they need to do more. They are not good enough. That's the message. So I think we have to teach. I don't know where to begin with this problem, because it's just perpetuating itself, because then the school gets good feedback, because wow, we produce these recruits. We're doing a great job. We have a 1,600 SAT. We have 3 kids going to Harvard. So pat us on the back. We're doing something right. They're never going to give it up, because it's all the accolades are going to them. So it's behind the scenes. And, I created a newsletter. You have a newsletter. I'm trying to educate parents all the time on how to, it's because if you think it's okay, they're going to think it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And if the number one thing people probably come to you is they want a confident kid, if you want a confident kid, let them make a mistake and fall on their face and pick themselves up. They will get more confident. I promise you. You pick them up every time, they're going to look for you every time they fall, and you're not always going to be there. It's a scary thing to let them fall. Anyway, we could go on, but go ahead.
Well, that's what I love about your story about your son, because, and it's a cliche, but it's true, which is, it's not how many times you fall, it's how quick you stand up. And so I have a very similar story. When my son, senior year high school, they lost in a team they had beaten earlier in basketball. They lost to go to state, and he was in the fetal position in tears in the car ride home. And my husband and I are like, he's devastated. Like, we're never going to get over this. Right. And I walked into his room the next morning, and I remember that morning he said, well, he's not going to want to go to school today. And I walked in to test the waters. And I'm like, how are you doing? And he opened his eyes and he said, Mom, I got to get to work. And
that's great.
Yes. Right. Yes. That's the right response. So we're not saying this is all a wonderful up, but again, tell me a heroic story where the hero got everything they wanted the entire journey. Like, that is not how this works. There is not a single person out there that you admire, or name one that was like, well, they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They got everything they wanted and they're amazing. No.
But again, the social media only talks about the highlight reel, right? They only see the winning. No one is showcasing the losing. No one is showcasing the bad days. I say to all my athletes, you signed up for a sport where someone wins and someone loses. So every time you put yourself out there, there's a very good chance you're going to come up short. So get used to it. And failure's feedback. Whatever you find out from that loss, you take it with you and you build on that. I want to do badly, because then I know what I need to work on. Great. Yeah. I need to work on that. Okay. That makes practice easier. I've got my work cut out for me. I'm always going to be getting better. Get used to that process. Get used to that grind. Fall in love with it. If you don't love it, do something else. Like, there's no, but they want the easy way out. A lot of times the kids, they want the shortcut. They want to, they're so used to everything's immediate, Kirsten, right? They something, and they get on their phone and they have the answer. It's like, No, sometimes you have to work through that, and we have to teach them how to do that. It's okay to struggle with it. Work through it. Let's see what you come up with. Okay, that didn't work. Go back at it again. But parents are quick to save them from the pain, right? Like your son, you could have gone in there and said, it's okay, buddy. You don't have to go to school today. Why don't you take the day off? He was like, all right. Meanwhile, he was all ready to go. If you had gone in there and done what you thought he needed and to save him because he was devastated, he might have been like, I guess I can just mail it in today. I'm good. No, let them decide. Let them decide. We don't know everything. We think we do.
Of the joy of learning is the opportunity. And while it, again, and I write about it in the book, but it's happening in schools. You know, I've got a kid right now that I'm coaching who tells me how her dad like gets in the portal before she even gets out of the classroom to check her grades, right? She'll like, I'll be walking out of my class and I'll get a text about how I did on my math quiz. Wow. Yeah. Get out of the portal. They're scary. Her grades. It's her, whether she gets an A+ or an F, that is not about you.
Right.
And you getting in the portal and micromanaging that is not helping her. And in fact, she's a golfer. And at first I thought, well, she just doesn't like golf. She should do something else. In fact, she likes golf. Mm-hmm. She just doesn't want him meddling in the golf so that she can, quit. Yeah. She's like, if he would just kind of let me be, I would actually really like to do this. And again, I want to emphasize, I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think there is not a single parent out there that's like, yes, let me screw up my kid. Of course not. We're all trying to do the best we can from where we are with what we've got. There's probably something in there for him that happened to him, that he wasn't the athlete that he wanted to be. So here's my answer. I'm going to hold her more accountable than I was because nobody cared that I didn't go or not go. So he's now overcompensating. But what it's doing is crushing her spirit to the point of her opting out at 16 of saying, I don't want to do this and I can't survive, and what are you doing? You're driving this chasm between yourself and your kid, which of course I know is not his goal.
Can he take feedback?
Well, and I asked that, and she said, well, we've tried that before, but it just really hasn't gone anywhere. So that's, again, my hope. And I know in the work you do too, which is, again, this isn't to call anybody out or blame anybody, but when we have awareness over, wow, that didn't go at all the way I wanted it to, right? And we do it all the time, then we can say, and then modeling it for our kids, this, I'm sure you've had a few bike rides or swims that didn't go quite the way you wanted them to, right? So how do we show them by not telling them the answer, but by modeling, you know what, today I tried to, get this new client and she shut me down and, whatever, like sharing them your own journey. And then when they share their, gosh, I got cut or I didn't make this, empathy without fixing.
Right. Without fixing. That's the key. I think everybody, the coaches should be sharing when things don't go right. Because the kids just walk on water, right?
Yeah.
They shared, struggled mentally in college. I was injured. Couldn't just go where I wanted to be playing, or I got cut from my team as a 9th grader, or I didn't make this A team. They would be like, really? You? That would be so eye-opening for them to learn that their idols and their coach, who is perfect in their mind, actually struggled. So, and I would love for parents to be the person you want your kid to be. Do you give up on things that get hard? Do you show your kids, I can't believe this didn't happen for me? And do you blame everybody else around you? Are you doing that? Is your kid doing that? Because guess what? Look in the mirror, and it's hard to hear that, but sometimes we have to look in the mirror and say, wow, they're learning this from me. And, we're not perfect parents. I made so many mistakes with my oldest, who was a volleyball player, which was what I was, and all the things. And I learned a lot from her. And I said, okay, now I've got a boy who's okay. And then my next guy is a soccer. Okay. And then so they're all different, and I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to adjust. But I think I try and model for them, and that's a big piece. I work hard every day. I go on TV, I do stuff, and sometimes I do great and sometimes I don't. And it's like, okay, you know what? That didn't work out for me. Well, Mom, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to try again.
Yeah.
So again, they respect us. They love us as parents, but it's one thing to love us because we're their moms. It's another to respect and watch what we do. And that's my goal all the time, is that if my kid is watching me, are they proud of this? Is this something that I want them to learn? If not, I got to check myself a little bit. That awareness you spoke about. But I want parents, if they're listening, it's never too late to do better.
Yeah.
Like, what do we tell our kids? Just do better. It's never too late to do better. And on the positive side, I've had some great conversations with parents who've like, Leah, I listened to what you said and I just didn't say a word when I wanted to say something. And I said, let me just wait until it's a better time. I had a parent call me the other day. She goes, I really want you to meet with my daughter, but I don't want to force it on her. So I'm going to wait for the conversation to come up organically. And I said, that's perfect. I'm here if you want me to talk to her, but it's important that she doesn't think there's something wrong with her. I want you to talk to this mental coach because you have a problem. Let her come to you and say, I need help. Great.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I have another one of my clients that the dad called me ahead of time. All right, I want to have a conversation with my daughter, but I don't want to mess it up. So give me a pep talk. So I said, look at you. That's awesome that they're aware enough to say, I know how important this initial conversation is. I want to get it right because I want to set the tone for future conversations with my 12-year-old girl, which could get challenging as they get older. So there are some parents who are doing it right. They give me hope. And I think, but we're small pieces in all of this. There's a lot of us doing this work, but with the industry, what it is, like you said before, and the social media and the pressure on these kids, I worry about their mental health. They're exhausted. They get injured more frequently. And not to mention what happens at school, Kirsten, the AP classes that they're in, 7 AP, no lunch, and they don't have time to do anything. They can't breathe. And they're up at 5 a.m. And the first thing they do is they go on their phone, and then they go to bed on their phone. So we have to try and sneak in there these important strategies and model for them. What they need is positive adult relationships. Those are coaches, parents, anybody outside who are modeling the right behavior and giving them it's going to be okay. No matter what happens, you're going to be all right. They're like, really? So it's important work we're doing. I'm proud to do it, but it's a long road. It's a lot of people that we need to talk to.
Well, so you work directly with all the coaches of all the different sports in your high school?
Yes, I have a really cool job that I kind of created. I'm the mental health and performance coach for the high school athletes at Ward Melville High School in Setauket, and it is the coolest job because I'm a guidance counselor during the day, and then in the afternoons I meet with all the teams. And I talk to some of the coaches I know better than others. I've been around a long time. They know who I am, and they're like, "Hey, I've got this group. I don't know what to do. They're not okay. I'll tailor my talk about that. Tomorrow I've got the baseball team and then I've got the softball team, and they're all different, but I try and teach similar strategies to them. That it's life skills wrapped in a sports package is really what it is. I'm just using sports as a way to connect with them, but the messages are, picking yourself up and resiliency and all that good stuff. So it's fun.
So we have a lot of parents listening, but also coaches and athletes, right? But if you were putting on the coach's hat, what do you think the biggest messages, like what are the big themes you hear from coaches that you would, if they could wave their magic wand, what would be one thing they would want, or several things they would want the parents to know that would make their job easier? Because we all know refs are cutting or quitting in record numbers. Yeah. Coaches are now quitting in numbers because they don't and I hear them say it over and over again. I don't need the headache. I got into this because I really love the kids. Now some will say, I'll only coach the little ones. Before it's like where nobody cares and we play everybody equally. But as soon as you get in, I was on a Twitter thread yesterday that went on for way too many tweets, and I got sucked down the rabbit hole, and it was one after another of how it started off with the coach going ballistic at the ref over a 5th grade basketball game, and there were 10, right? And the parents getting in fights and breaking out, and this is this kind of behavior. So maybe a couple things that you hear from the coach's perspective that would help the parents behave.
A lot of what the coaches say, they're very selfish. Some of the athletes, there's a selfishness to their play. They don't play as a team. They're playing for themselves. There's a lot of entitlement. I don't need to carry the water. I don't need to get the bags. Like, I'm this, I'm that. There's a lot of that. And there's not a lot of kids taking accountability and responsibility for what they do. Like the end of a game, it's like, you didn't pass to me and you didn't do this. It's like, well, what about what you didn't do? Like there's not a lot of self-reflection going on with the kids. Like, listen, Michael Jordan would reflect on what he could have done better, and he's the best there ever was. So you can't do it, but he can do, you know what I'm saying? Like Kobe Bryant worked harder in practice than he did in the game, but you're cutting corners, so they're cutting corners. There's a lot of, and again, I think it's it's a lot of parents' fault. Like they have told these kids since they're born, they're the best thing since sliced bread. So they believe that, which is great until it's not. And you have to work and play as a team. And there's a lack of connectedness and cohesiveness. They don't. But again, we've also put so much, we used to do team dinners and going out together, and there's no time for it. I have this AP exam and this and that. So I don't blame the kids for not having the time for that, because they don't. But if you only had one season at a time and you didn't have to run to this club practice and you didn't have to run to the strength and conditioning coach, then maybe you would have time to bond as a team. They don't take their roles as seriously. Like when I meet with the teams, I ask everybody in the room, I put them in a circle. What is your role on this team? Everybody's in a circle because we're all equal. Everyone in this room is equal. Whether you score the most goals or you bring the water to the field, you are just as important as he is. And they all look at me like, interesting. There's like a hierarchy. I said, no, there's not a hierarchy. And if everybody does their role, that's what makes this team a winning team. It's about the culture, not about the talent. So I'm trying to drill that in as much as possible. So I think that the coaches would love there to be more cohesion on the teams. There's a lot of fragmentation. Like there's the starters and then there's everybody else. And then the everybody else, they get very resentful. Well, I don't get to play, so what do I bother? And there's a lot of that too. And that attitude is not good. Or I only get 1 minute. The parents come to me, how is my daughter supposed to get to prove how she can play if she only gets to play for a minute? That's not fair. Coach plays favorites. And I'm like, sometimes you're going to hate me for this, but your kid's not good enough. It's okay to not be good enough. Like, that's okay. I want to scream to them. Not everybody's going to be the best, but find your role on the team. What is it? Is it hype girl? Is it braiding everybody's hair? That's very important to this experience, because 5% of you are playing in college. So that leaves 95% to have a varsity experience that is fun. So we're overblowing this. We need to treat them like the coaches. We need to treat them like they're high school kids. Most of them are just playing for participation, and this isn't their livelihood. So I think there's a little bit of both. They take it too seriously sometimes, but then again, their job is to win. So it's a tough battle. It's not an easy situation when parents want their kids to play, but it's a varsity sport. You signed up for it. When you signed on to be in this team, you were probably told playing time will be limited, and it's your choice to be here. You can play. You don't have to commit to this team. You can play in JV. So they understand that going in, but they still complain about it. So I don't know.
I think one of the things coaches can do is help define the roles, because I agree with you. Yeah. Everybody has a role. And if you're a coach that carries 22, but is only going to play 8, then 9 through 22 better be very clear on what their role is at the beginning. Yep. And yes, it can change, and yes, it can grow. And yes, there are opportunities to get better. Of course. But if you're keeping everybody because you're afraid of, I see some too, where, oh, well, they said they really want to be here, so I'm just going to let them, but they don't get into any of the drills. They're not getting any better. And then they're getting really frustrated, which is what the parent listens to all the time. You would have been better off to give them some tough love and say, and I had a coach on a couple of months ago, and she said, I cut the kid as a sophomore. He came back as a junior. He played as a sophomore. I cut him as a junior. He came back as a senior, and he was my best, and he knew what his role was. He was never going to be a starter, but he had the best attitude on the team because he was. So if you know what your role is, even if you don't like it, right, but you're clear on that, then it's up to you. Okay, I've been told what my role is. Fine. Some people say, well, they never told me. I don't understand. And there's two sides of that too, right? Coaches can not articulate it clearly, but getting and understanding what your role is. There's another phenomenal book called The Coach's Class. And he studied all the best teams in the world. You had to have 4 back-to-back world championships to even be considered for the study he did. Rugby, lacrosse, cricket, football, everything, right? And what he did was identify 16 leadership skills.
Really?
That it takes to have a successful team. P.S. There's no one person on this planet that has all 16 of them.
Yeah, right.
Right? So yes, we know the Ronaldos and the Ronaldinhos and the Michael Jordans and the stars, but the ones that carry the water, the ones that carry the bags, the ones that there are different roles, the ones that are your, emotional cheerleaders, those roles are just as critical as the ones that are scoring all the goals.
Agreed.
And parents, coach the kid you have.
Yes.
Not the one you wish you had. That's really hard. We all want to have the star, and guilty.
Sure.
Of course, it's so much fun to be the one that the parents are patting you on the back. And I've been both. I've been, your kid's the star. And I've been, my kid didn't touch the floor for a whole season. Right. And man, it's not fun to be over there. So I'm not saying it's easy, but when we realize that maybe what we signed up for, and here's the other part of the problem, is we've paid a lot of money.
I know,
right?
That's part of the problem. Yeah.
So that's part of the problem, where you think back in our day, you went, they didn't pay because we didn't have club, but the thing the most they paid for was the $300 for the sleepaway camp for a week. But even if they had to fork out a couple $100, okay, she didn't play. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
But now it's every weekend, every vacation. We've given all of our, it's understandable. Again, I defend the parents in that and some of these parents can't afford it. I know of a guy who's got 2 part-time jobs to pay for the softball for the daughter, right? So there is this, but the kids know that.
They know that. I know I'm going to say that. Yeah, they know that. And so that weighs on them. Well, dad's working extra hard and mom's giving up her vacation time and everyone's taking off work to bring me to my tournament. I better do well. I better perform. And whether that's conscious or not, it's there. It's underlying and it affects them. And that's why, again, communication. I never want parents to say, I took off work for this. That's just the worst thing you can possibly say. But we need to, I still think there is no answer, because it's like a runaway train at this point. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. The money is more, the tournaments are more, there's more coaching. We have to just communicate with our kid. If we can learn how to communicate with our kid, we can avoid most of these problems. You can sit down and have an honest conversation. And I always tell my kids, I don't care if you win or lose. It doesn't matter to me. I had my chance. I did my thing. This is yours. Listen, I did my thing and I do my thing now. See, I'm still competing. I get to do my own thing. What do you want? But parents are wrapped up in their kids for whatever reason, living vicariously, didn't do what they wanted to do. So have an honest conversation with yourself and say, what am I doing here? Is this really what's best for my kid? Maybe it was best for you 30 years ago. You might be giving your kid what you think you needed, but it's not, we have to be, and then, you and I could go on and on and on. We have to have warning signals of what, when they really are overloaded. But well, like I said, we could do a marathon podcast, like literally 24/7.
And parents, notice your self-talk. That's something that I try to become aware of, right? And I hear this a lot. Well, we didn't make the team. Well, we're in first place. I get it. We, the team, are doing well. But when you start substituting your child's results, well, we got into Harvard, right? This is their journey. And whether they get into the top school or not, or the top team or not, is not a reflection of whether you're a good parent or not. It has nothing to do with your parenting. And that's hard, because our egos, there's another, Dr. Shafali Sabari, who's Oprah's guru or whatever on parenting, but I love the one quote she had, which is, the most egoic thing we can do as a human is procreate, right? Yeah. Look what I made, right? It is, my progeny, I am amazing, right? And it just in and of itself of making another human is doing that.
Yeah.
So they're spending their whole life trying to separate themselves from your ego. You know?
True, but we have to, like, again, look in the mirror, really just check yourself and say, what's going on here? It's okay to admit that you want something for your kid. You would love for them to be D1 recruit. Yeah, it's okay to say that. It's fine to want that. Have a conversation with your kid. Hey, you know what would be cool? That would be cool, but if that's what you want, like
Yeah.
it's very hard, and it's not, but again, people have to be willing to be wrong. They have to be willing to admit that this is what they want, or they're pushing their kid towards it. And until we admit that, we're not going to make any changes to our behavior, and our kids are going to suffer. They're going to come back from college. They're not going to want to be there. They're going to be doing it for you. And once they're away from you and they're on their own, they're like, I don't want to do this. I didn't sign up for this. This is my mom's dream. This is my dad's dream. So I think we have to be careful, but I think we're on the right track. I think we're sending a good message. I think parents are starting to recognize it's necessary to ask for help. I've had so many parents asking me to work with their kids. I think that's great. They say, sometimes it's better coming from a third party, a different person. I get too involved. Great. Put it on me. I'm impartial. I can have that conversation. I think that's very self-aware, and it's a good sign.
And I always say I'm Switzerland, right? Like, it's nice to have somebody who has no skin in the game, who just wants to help you succeed. And sometimes that's what we all need to hear, right? Like, we have a spouse who, gives us feedback. Well, I don't want to hear from you, right? But somebody will give you the exact same feedback, but happens to be, a stranger. And you're like, oh, great feedback. Thank you. Right. So
I know.
yeah, really? That's what I just told you, right? Which is, parents, that's what I get. Like, well, what are you going to say that's so different? I might not say anything that's different, but I may wrap the story in a metaphor that they understand, and that, if we can get the penny to drop, what is that worth?
It's really important. And the kids listen. They say, oh, wow, she's the expert. She's saying it. It must be true,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm not saying anything different than mom or dad is saying, or your coach is saying, but we're saying it in a different way. We have a different, and they know we're not attached to the outcome. I'm not attached to it. But you could quit tomorrow. It doesn't matter to me one bit. I just want you to be happy in whatever you're doing. And if you want to be better, I want to help you be better. If that's your goal, great. I'm here for it. So it's good work. I do love it.
All right, Leah, I'm going to let you go. But before I let you go, I have to ask you one last question. And as a listener, you probably know what's coming. But how would you answer this or finish this statement? A word, a phrase, I don't care. Go on for as long as you like. But the best athletes I know do this. How would you finish that thought? Being an Ironman, what does an Ironman think about? And a mental coach and a mama for, and a counselor. Like, God, I love how many hats you wear. It's amazing.
So the best athletes do this. I think they're in love with the process. They love the process. They are addicted to the grind. They love the idea of work. They think the outcome is not the prize. The journey's the prize. It sounds so cliche, but it's getting better. It's having 5 runs that are garbage, and then that one run that just you go up a notch. You change and I know it when I'm in it. I tell the kids all the time when I'm running and I'm in a lot of pain, I say, I get happy because I know I'm making progress. I'm like, yes, this hurts. That means I'm getting better. So I think that is what makes a good athlete, the ability to go to work on a consistent basis. And people say, you could ask my triathlon coach, what makes the best triathlete? A consistent one. That's all. I used to say, like, why am I so good at this? All I do is show up and do my workouts. Like, I'm not, you don't have to win every workout. That's another thing I always say. You don't have to win every workout. You just sometimes have to get it done. And getting it done over and over and over, you're building your endurance and your skills, but you're building your mental endurance and your stamina to be able to go at it every day with enthusiasm and I care about what I put out there. I do runs, whatever, training for myself. There's no coach there. No one cares what I do. No one's clocking me on the sidelines. I care. I care those numbers. I push myself for me because I want to be proud of what I'm doing. No, it doesn't matter to anybody else. It really doesn't. My coach could be like, oh, well, okay, so you didn't do it. Okay. I understand, Leah, you work and you've got kids. If you're too tired, hell no. Like, that's not happening. So I think that grit is not celebrated enough. Like, so I like to applaud kids when they're out there and I see them hustle and I see them run to their teammate and high five them, be the first one to hug that. Yes, that's what I love. Like, I love the effort. So I think, to wrap it up, the best athletes, they just love the process of getting better and being a part of something and watching the progress unfold and being committed and dedicated to their craft, whatever it may be.
Perfectly said, Leah. I agree 100%.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Because that's what we're doing too. Not every episode's good. Not every workout's good. Not every presentation's good, right? And in fact, there's an Olympian that I don't even know who she is, but she ran track in Rio, and she said, my coach always told me it's the rule of a thirds, right? A third of them will be good.
Third will be good. Yes, it's, what's her name? Pappas, Alexi Pappas.
Yes, there you go. Third will be and a third will be bad. Yeah. And if you look at it like, okay, 2/3 of it will be either or bad. So when I'm in that 1/3, like, woo, this is a special day.
Yes.
Versus it's supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be perfect. It's not perfect, right? Like, we're always going for the perfection when that's not the goal.
No, but but that's in our head sometimes. Like, I'll do a workout and I won't hit my numbers. I go, what the heck? Why aren't I not hitting my splits? Like, what? And I have to remember, Leah, you're either tired or whatever. Like, it's not about the number. It's about the effort, rate of perceived effort. It's just because it could be 90 degrees today. You're not going to hit your numbers. So, but that's and I share that with the kids. And I said, if those percentages are off, if 90% of the time you're like, this is great, it's too easy, right?
Yeah.
And if 90% of the time it's garbage, maybe you're not, your goals are not right, and we need to readjust. So I love that I use that all the time. That's a great little thing. So this was so much fun.
I know, this is amazing. So where can everybody find you? There's more than enough to go around. I know there's plenty of athletes out there. There's plenty of parents out there who are looking for guidance and help. So where can everyone find you?
My website, leahjantzen.com. That's an easy way to find me. I'm on Instagram at leahjantzen.com, at Leah Jantzen. I have a newsletter, The Car Ride Home, just for parents trying to help out. It's all good. We're sending the same message, which I love. And for everyone out there, just like we tell our kids, just show up every day. You get a fresh day to make a difference and do better. And just like we tell them as parents, it's the same thing. Okay, today I'm gonna do my best, and that's all we really want for our kids. So this was great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Leah. I loved this discussion. I knew it would be great. And it's so fun to share. So parents, please like, share, follow Leah, follow her journey. I think, I'm always looking for new inspiration, looking for new stories, I was listening to a podcast with Don Staley this morning, like, be curious. Be finding, the nuggets are sitting in front of us now. We can find them all around us. So thank you so much. This is a joy, and we'll speak to you soon. Parents, athletes, coaches, we've got this.